Hello, YouTube. If you don't know me by now, my name is Denise, and today I am covering Baddies East episode 13. And for those of you who do know me, I think you already know where I'm going with this episode. It was straight up garbage. It really should have been left on the cutting room floor. I think the only thing that saved it was Biggie's camera time and confessionals towards the end of the episode. But we're gonna get right into it. So last week we left off with Smiley and Mariah Lynn's sister Veronica fighting in the club. And I just knew from last week that since we didn't get any previews of this fight, that this fight was going to be trash. And it really was. There was nothing but hair pulling, and I didn't see a clear winner. It was also very hard to see because I don't understand why it takes so many security guards to break up two women. Security really gets in the way and we can't see what's going on. I also couldn't enjoy this fight because the music was just too loud, and it wasn't the music from the club. Whatever music that they decided to put on top of the audio from the club was just too loud, because normally it's whatever audio they capture and then they layer the music underneath. But this time around, they did it the opposite way, and I'm assuming they did that because they didn't capture good audio from the club. I don't think neither Smiley or Veronica were mic'd, and the club music was probably louder than them. And I just also have an issue with the club lights and how it was just flashing in different colors. And I feel like they could have had the girls fight in a location where the lights weren't hitting, but they were like right in front of the lights. Now, during this fight, we do get a moment where it looks like Natalie was trying to swing at Veronica. And I was just like, why would Natalie possibly try to hit Mariah Lynn's sister when Mariah Lynn is one of her favorites and she doesn't even like Smiley? But then I just kept my eye on Natalie in the background, and you can just see that she was just putting on a show for the fans. Because after she swung, she was doing her typical Natalie stuff like, yeah, But still, if Mariah Lynn saw that, she still would have felt away. So I don't know why Natalie is being weird right now. Next, the show skips to the next morning, and here we have Camilla, Sky, and Anna by the pool. And they're talking about how much fun that they're having in New York City so far. Anna says that she wants to go to Fordham and get a chimney. Shout out to Fordham. For those of you that don't know Fordham, it's kind of like the Times Square of the Bronx, but with just more mom and pop shops. It's a nice little place. It gets very crowded, but like you can literally find anything that you're looking for over there in Fordham. And I just want to take a second and make fun of Sky because she thought that a chimi is like a churro. Those two foods are nothing alike. A chimi is a Dominican sandwich. A churro is Mexican fried dough, and it's really like a dessert. But my fat ass could eat that for like breakfast and a snack and in between lunch and dinner. So much for Sky being half Puerto Rican and being from New York. I'm only keeping my foot on Sky's neck because of the comments that she made towards Biggie speaking Spanish. Sky is still one of my favorites, but I see why she doesn't like people speaking Spanish in front of her, because she has no idea of anything. Then the ladies also talk about the Smiley situation. Anna points out that Smiley only wants to fight the little bitches because when Sapphire had her arm around her neck, Smiley didn't do anything. But I think that's more because Smiley wanted to be Sapphire and Suki's friend. But Smiley is also a punk, like, don't get me wrong. And Camilla is gonna say that she can see in Smiley's face that she's starting to feel left out. And honestly, I really don't know what the solution would be in dealing with somebody like Smiley, because she's not gonna change. People like Smiley don't change. If you are a compulsive liar, if you like to scam people and then play little games on the internet, that's just sociopathic behavior that there's no amount of therapy that's going to fix that. And it's like, yeah, you start feeling bad for the girl because there's still a part of her that is a decent person, or a fun time to hang out with. But it's like, if you keep being friends with the girl, it just enables her behavior and it's going to get worse. So I really don't have a solution to give to you. Now, I would really like to know if any of you guys watching have ever dealt with somebody like Smiley. What did you do? How did you handle them? Let me know in the comments below because I'm very curious. Next, we are in Rolly's room where she is talking to Scarface. I'll admit that Rolly's room is surprisingly clean, except for whatever is on that floor. But it just looks like pieces of either a wig or some clothing. But other than that, her room is still surprisingly clean. But it still looks like you haven't even rolled out of bed to go brush your teeth, Rolly, and you're just sitting on your bed just counting your blunts and grinding up your weed. Like, that is just disgusting. And then we have Scarface's dumbass just adding more sauce about the situation with the guy and his lady heels. That just did not happen because, of course, I went back to the last episode. I put on my AirPods and I tried listening the best I could to everything that this man was saying. So this is my conclusion on what happened. First, he starts off raising his phone trying to get video of Biggie because he is a Biggie fan. And when he does that, the phone does kind of graze Scarface, the back of Scarface's head just a little bit. And that's when she turns around and tells him, "You hit me." And then he says, "I didn't hit you. I have my lady heels in my hands." And then he starts pressing Scarface like, "Who are you though?" And then she says, "I'm Scarface." And he says, "Oh, okay. But you know who I am, baby." And then that's when Scarface says, "No, I don't know who you are," and blah, 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 blah. So Scarface is just adding way more sauce than what actually happened. She says that he hit her like boom in the back of the head. He did not hit you at all. She also says that she grabbed his phone. No, you did not grab his phone. You didn't even look up to him as you should if he did hit you. And he did not call you a bitch. Not from anything that I heard, he did not call you a bitch. He called you baby. And then lastly, Scarface alleges that he called her a broke bitch. And it's just crazy how Scarface is lying to us. She's lying to Rolly. She's lying to herself as if all of this is not on camera. Shout out to this fan for causing all this trouble. I wish whoever that was would just come out and explain the situation. But as I'm recording this video, I haven't seen anything on the internet yet about this man. And we keep calling him a man, which we don't know how he identifies, but clearly, like, he's one of the girls. And that's another thing that I don't like that Scarface is doing. She's acting like she got hit by like some big, bulky ass man, and it's just not. So now we're gonna go on ahead and skip to the House A pre-meeting. And of course I call this a pre-meeting because this is where they plan out who is going to attack or fight who once they get to House B. So the girls are talking about Veronica versus Smiley. And does anybody else find it strange that Natalie isn't as animated as she normally gets whenever they start recounting or retelling a fight? Now, we do know that Veronica was at the Baddies auditions and she didn't get casted for this season. So I'm not saying that there's any animosity between Natalie and Veronica, but it is kind of awkward to feature and talk about this girl who you never wanted to cast in the first place. And that she's also the sister of one of the girls in your house. And then Rolly lets us know that Smiley told her that she was having Mariah Lynn's family followed after the club. Now, Smiley, real G's move in silence like lasagna. You're not supposed to say that, let alone say that to Rolly. Of course, Rolly's going to tell the whole house what you just said. But it is a little suspicious that Rolly is bringing this up now during the pre-meeting and not as soon as it happened last night, where Mariah Lynn could have benefited from knowing that information right then and there just in case something did pop off. But I still do believe that Smiley did say that because she does apologize for it later in the episode, and we'll get to it. But for now, Scarface is letting everybody know that Biggie, quote unquote, sent someone to attack her at the club last night. And if you guys have watched other Zeus Network shows, you do know that sometimes cast members do bring outside people in, but at the same time, every time that happens, you always see production on camera shitting their pants. So Natalie, for a fact, knows that Biggie didn't bring any outside people because production would have told her. And typically, production will put that person who brought outside people in and their target, they would put them in separate rooms and just barricade them in those rooms until they get the situation under control. And Sapphire even peeped that Natalie had no idea about whatever Scarface was talking about. So that should have been the biggest hint right there that Scarface is lying. And I do think that Natalie is wrong for not checking Scarface on her lie right then and there, because you are executive producer, but you just keep acting like a cast member, and that's why people are not really feeling you or the show this season. But if there's anybody doing their job, I have to give a shout out to the editor, because you can see that as while Scarface is retelling her story about what happened last night, not only did the editor do a flashback to that moment, but they also slowed it down for us so we could see what really happened, while Scarface's voiceover is contradicting what is happening during the flashback. And that's just how you know that the editor does not like you. Because they didn't have to show us nothing. They could have kept it vague. But the editor went out of their way to prove you wrong, Scarface. And that is just sad. So meanwhile, House A is talking shit. House B is just chilling in the backyard. They're having fun, drinking, playing games, singing. And here T kind of surprised me, because you would have thought that given how squeaky and annoying her voice is when she talks, but when she sings, she's actually an alto. You would have thought that she was a soprano. But Anna Mac is a soprano. And I'll give her props, because the girl can actually sing. But I still don't like you. But anyways, the girls are waiting for House A until Sky gets a call that Natalie and the girls are right outside. And she gets up and she goes to get them. Everybody is hugging and greeting each other at first, until Mariah sees Smiley and runs up on her for threatening her family. And I really was not expecting this out of Mariah. And this goes to show you that she really didn't care about her chain, because if she really wanted her chain back, she could have been fought Smiley. But of course, Mariah doesn't play about her family. I don't think anybody really does. And I also forgot to point out earlier that I don't know how many days it's been since Smiley has had her alleged miscarriage, but it seems like she's obviously healed up right now, because she's not in pain anymore and she's ready to fight Mariah or her sister. So this is like reason 107 as to why I don't believe Smiley had a miscarriage. Now she is wearing gym clothes again, so I don't know if somebody might have tipped her off that Mariah was coming for her, or maybe she just already had a feeling. But I do have to give it to Smiley, because she did try to apologize, but Mariah Lynn just didn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to be friends with this girl ever again, and I don't blame Mariah, because you can't change people like Smiley. And Smiley is also one of those people that think that they can get away with anything as long as they say sorry once they get caught. But they'll do something else to you the next day, but just try to apologize to you again, but then do something else the next day. So people like Smiley is the reason why I don't accept apologies. And I will never ask somebody for an apology. I'll just cut you off with no warning. And I'm not explaining myself to you either. So after Mariah and Smiley are done, next we have Scarface pressing Biggie about the made up situation. And this is the first that Biggie is hearing this. And you can tell because the way she's just clutching her pearls, like, you got hit in the head. And Biggie, of course, is in shock here, because Biggie was the last in line when the girls were entering the club, so she would have seen if Scarface did get hit in the head. And the people between Biggie and Scarface were Smiley and Anna Mac, so they would have also seen what happened. As to why they're not speaking up to defend Biggie, I really don't know. Probably because there's no real friendships in House B, even though they are like chill with one another. Nobody there is like really close. And I almost forgot to mention that Sapphire is right next to Scarface and talking to her as the situation happened. And it looks like Sapphire was telling Scarface to just ignore him. I know that Scarface brought out Camilla to remember the guy that she was talking about, but I just don't see Camilla in the shot. I don't see where she was standing during this time. Now, I didn't want to believe that Scarface could be this stupid, but the girl really is. She's gonna say, oh, so he just did it for no reason? Like, bitch, yes, he did. He didn't know who you were, so he didn't really give a fuck. And then when Biggie's gonna say that she doesn't know who that man is, Scarface is gonna ask her, then why is he screaming Big Biggie? Bitch, because he's a fan. I know, Scarface, you're not used to having fans, but that's not Biggie's fault that a fan took it upon himself not to even fight Biggie's battles, because I doubt that that fan had any idea what was going on in the house between you two earlier that day. But he was just a little overly excited to see Biggie, and he might have hit you by accident. That shit happens. You guys are walking in between a crowd. So now Biggie is starting to feel set up, because none of this is making sense, and I don't blame her. This is literally the second time that everybody is telling her to shut up while she is talking. Not only that, she is on one side of the area, or I guess I'll call it the stage, and everybody else is literally on the other side. So yeah, I would feel set up too. And then Rolly's gonna say, but you probably told him something and he took it upon himself. So you see how the story is changing from Biggie sending this man to okay, now he's a fan and you said something to set him off. And it's like they have no idea that everything that they're saying is being recorded, that we, the audience, can see for ourselves. Plus the fact that Rolly has been retelling the story as if she's witnessed it herself. Like, this is ridiculous. But there's nothing more ridiculous and more just corny than when Rolly went to Smiley's room to give her the eviction notice. You guys had me thinking last episode that it was a real eviction, not just some stupid ass piece of notebook paper handwritten by Rolly with a kindergartner's handwriting and scribbles and scrabbles. Now I was able to zoom in on the note and read what it says. So she wrote, "Your time is up!" Exclamation point. You have written on top of two because she forgot to write it in at first. Leave the baddie house. She started spelling evicted as EVE, scribbled it out, and then wrote evicted exclamation point. That's the whole note. Now, I don't know why Natalie and production gave Rolly the green light to do this, but this just wasn't good TV. Like, this was just hard to watch. And I've even got like secondhand embarrassment from this. And props to Smiley for just folding back the note up and giving it to Rolly. Like, bitch, get out my face with this shit. But Smiley is going through it and she's really upset because she had thrown everything in her room prior to Rolly coming in, which I don't understand throwing your own stuff when you get upset, because I pay good money for my things. I will never throw my things. I would rather throw Mariah or Rolly's big ass before I throw my own things. But we do see Smiley in better spirits next episode, so I'm not really too worried about Smiley right now. Next we have Suki, who you've just arrived and you don't really know what's going on, but it's like you already picking a side. It's kind of weird. But she's talking to Biggie, and I feel like she's just doing the most when she's talking to Biggie, because she's telling Biggie all of the things that she would do if she was in Biggie's position, because she's from the streets. And she's basically telling Biggie that Biggie is doing too much explaining and that she needs to go fight Scarface. But I don't think that Sukiyana realizes that not everybody is from the streets. It doesn't seem that Biggie has had to live in poverty. She seems like she's come from a decent household who is probably not like the most rich, but at least like middle class. So Biggie is not going to get like down and dirty the way that you do. Biggie would rather talk things out. Now she does defend herself, but that's only when you push her to that point. Now I do agree with Suki. I think Biggie is doing a little bit too much explaining, because at this point, if you're accusing me of something I didn't do, I would have been so angry. I think I would have folded every single one of you bitches who actually believes this lying ass bitch. But Biggie is a better person than me. And I do want to give her props for being as petty as she is being, because while everybody is literally telling her to shut up, she keeps talking over them. And that's why I love that girl. She doesn't let nobody tell her what to do. And then reason number 27 as to how you know that Scarface is lying is that they keep bringing up some light-skinned man. Now, I do believe that such light-skinned man exists that knows Biggie, because you can just see it in Biggie's face that she knows who they're talking about when they're talking about a light-skinned man, but light-skinned man wasn't there. Which I do want to know the realty on light-skinned man. Is that Biggie's boyfriend? Hopefully we'll find out on another day. But the fan that they're talking about, that was not a light-skinned man. That was a very much small brown man with his lady heels. Now I'm gonna explain to you why this was all a setup and why I think production probably told Scarface to make up this lie. So here we see the girls distracting Biggie by still yelling at her, still going back and forth with her. But you can see as Scarface is heading into the house, Natalie is looking back at her as if she's telling Scarface to go get Biggie's things. And then once Scarface reaches Biggie's room, you see the producers tell Scarface which room is Biggie's room, because otherwise she would have no idea, because she hasn't been living there. So as it turns out, Biggie is room neighbors with Smiley. And I just kind of find it more than coincidence that the two girls that are getting evicted are neighbors. Of course, the cameraman was already there filming Smiley when Rolly handed her the eviction note. But even after Rolly left, he stayed there. And he's still filming. And now he's filming Scarface go into Biggie's room. And back outside, we already have Suki and Sapphire constantly telling Biggie to go get her things. Biggie lets us know that it's in the contract that Scarface can't legally touch her things. I don't know why Zeus Network is openly breaking contracts on camera. I hope that Biggie, you do sue them, get some money, because it's pretty obvious that this was planned. I also want to add the fact that you can hear Scotty on top of the staircase trying to lure Biggie by saying, Biggie, Biggie, she's touching your stuff. When you know damn well, Scotty, that Biggie is more of your friend than Scarface. So you could have told Scarface to stop touching her stuff, maybe. But basically, security and production and everybody else is just letting this girl take Biggie's suitcase and her purse and try to throw it out. I mean, throw it down the stairs. And I'm so happy that Biggie did snatch her purse back and punched that bitch Scarface right in her throat. Now, since we breaching contracts, I would have breached my contract, Biggie, and just threw Scarface down the stairs so that Natalie and Lemmy and them can catch her down there. Because they're all huddled up down the stairs. I don't know what Scarface's plan is because they're going to get hit. And that is where the episode ends, of course, mid-fight, like every single episode that they have given us so far. So I am excited to see the rest of this fight next week. For the previews, we get Suki, and it looks like they're in Biggie's room, but she's talking to Biggie and Smiley. I'm sure she's going to try to give them words of encouragement because they are the most hated in the house. And everybody's just smiling in this picture, so I'm sure the conversation is going to be good. Next, we have Biggie running up on Scarface and clocking her in the head while the girls are taking pictures. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was a little boy at first. I had no idea it was Biggie, and neither did the rest of the girls, it seems like, because if you saw Camilla, the way Camilla was ready to fight, and how all the girls were really ready to fight, it was nice to see that at least one time they can all come together for the same purpose. Next, we have Biggie and Scarface square up for like the 37th time. Now, I don't like how Scarface was hiding in the bushes, and I just felt like it was so lame that she just threw water before she decided to run up. Like, that was, what is up with these bitches throwing water? You guys are not wet. You cannot be throwing water as an attack. But it does seem like Biggie was already anticipating Scarface running up on her because Biggie was looking each way, you know, because Biggie's not stupid, and that's why I love that girl. So I can't wait for that fight too next Sunday. To be notified when I cover that episode, please subscribe, and I'll see you over there in that video. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye, guys.